If you're in the middle of a high conflict divorce or healing from one, this conversation will feel like oxygen. Today, I'm joined by divorce coach Jacqui Anderle to break the silence on what really happens behind the scenes and how women can rise. Yes, greetings, Jacqui. Thank you for
Hi,
being here.
hi, Selena. Thank you for having me.
I'm so fantastic that you said yes. I love it. I love it. So let's jump right in. Jacqui, how do you show up in the world?
Hmm. First and foremost, as a woman of faith, um, and I work tirelessly, it feels like, to keep that in the forefront. Um, and as a mother, um, working hard to just produce two great humans, um,
That girl.
so that they can be their best selves, to give them the space that they need. And sometimes I think maybe the space I feel like I didn't have as a kid. So I try to create the space for them to just figure it out and just show up as who they want to be.
I love that. I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. So, what brought you here today?
Well, I am meeting with you today to talk about a new venture of mine as a divorce coach, um, because I feel called to help women who may be in the midst of or even preparing to dive in and go down this path of separation, where they are aware that it will be a high conflict situation, or again, for those who are already in it, they know that it is a high conflict um, divorce, and they know that they need help beyond maybe speaking to their lawyer or even speaking with their therapist. They're looking for guidance and being able to focus on what's important, their kids, their home life, whatever it is that they need to get through this high conflict situation and address the emotions, but also find practical approaches to navigating the divorce.
Aren't they all high conflict?
Oh, um, I actually thought the opposite, that they were all just easy peasy. We know we want to divorce. Let's just separate, figure out the schedule, and just how it is on TV. We'll split our parenting time, and there's no issue.
Ah,
um, but it's not the case. Most aren't. There's actually, most divorces don't end up with years and years of going through family court. Um, but those that end up in that place are there sometimes for a long time, like myself, for several years before it's resolved.
oh, wow. So, what's at play? What are the dynamics that are happening that you can share, and what makes you uniquely qualified to help in this way?
Yeah, so a number of things happen. And one of the major things that occur is getting, you may get to a point of acceptance that this is happening, but your partner may not. You may be dealing with an ex that's still grappling with, I don't want this to happen. And they're still fighting the fact that it's happening. Um, but what starts to happen are, because of this unresolved um, acceptance, there's the acting out. There is um, conflict with parenting time, the arguments around who spends what time with the kids, the arguments around where the kids will spend most of their time, in whose home, at what school. um you may have someone who's also arguing about what the kids wear, what clothes they should have on. I mean, it can get to the point where every detail, what extracurricular activities that they're participating in, um, it gets to the point where that becomes constant, and lots of conversations, lots of arguments, and no resolution. For some, it may You may start, which is what we did, where you think you can resolve some of this peacefully in a mediation, in mediation, and then that does not resolve the issues. There's still the conflict. And for many of these cases, Selena, it's not about money. It's not, you're not arguing over retirement accounts and what's in the savings and the kids' college fund. Like, you're not dealing with that. It's just this grab for control and trying to keep the control. And when you're disrupting that, oh, I like that I choose. When you're disrupting that, when you're disrupting the norm and saying, I'm not continuing on this path that we're on, um, it causes lots of conflict. And so why me? Because this is, I don't like using the phrase, it's my story, but it is the story that I've lived for the last 5 years, excuse me, with first getting to the point where I knew that separation needed to happen. And then going through, well, what's next? What do we do? Is it therapy? Is it mediation? And then ultimately, well, now we have to go through more rigorous legal proceedings to resolve this. So having walked that path and continuing to walk that path after 5 years and not having it fully resolved, I've learned um, some things along the way and some things that I wish I'd known in the beginning in the first a year or two, which I think would help someone. Maybe not cut the time too much, but I think you could shave off a couple of years if you're in this particular situation to just say, hey, start here, kind of cut out all of the noise, and this is where I think you need to go in and handle your emotions, but these are things that will make it a little bit easier for you.
So is there a specialty in the divorce, or is it just anyone that wants to have a divorce and it's high conflict? Is there some other specialty that is in there in that high conflict? Because I heard you say control and some things that make my spidey senses tingle.
Yeah, for in particular, there, people use the term a toxic spouse. If you're dealing with whatever language you're using, narcissistic spouse is something that has come up quite a bit in my situation. But if you're dealing with that, some of us may not realize it, like I did not realize it. So it's first like getting an understanding of what situation you're in. But if those are things that are present in your life, then it's the absolute best person to go through this coaching and program with me, because there are things that I thought I can approach it a certain way and it doesn't work. And you can keep trying, you'll just kind of keep banging your head against the wall. There is no changing. You can't take the leopard spots, right? There's no changing. Um, if you're dealing with that type of spouse. So it's just, this is what has to be done no matter what.
I can absolutely fully relate, lived it, got the scars, got the story. I was married to a narcissist. It is the reason why disruptor coaching exists today. I
Yeah.
went through hell. I consider myself as a narcissistic survivor, that I survived the narcissist. And I also found my gifts and calling through that
Yeah.
in finding my way back to myself. So I can fully relate. So let's just call it what it is and set the people free and us. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a dynamic conversation, because there is a lot that happens. There's the aftermath that I personally am still dealing with, and not just from that marriage, but the fact that I went into, after my divorce, I went to work for someone that had the same energy, and I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, what is the likelihood that this would happen? And I was experiencing it for a little more than 3 years, constantly being triggered and not realizing, oh, this is making me feel like I'm back in this situation. Like, I thought I was supposed to be in this safe environment. So it felt like a double whammy. So what made you decide to focus on this? How did you get here? What were you doing before you decided, you said this is a new endeavor to be a
Yes.
divorce coach? What was going on that made you realize, oh, I need to step into this?
Yes. So my um skill set is in, or what I have always believed my skill set is I'm that math nerd, that like math person. I just anything that was analytical, was my thing. So I've worked in finance for a number of years. Um and in my previous life, I was in the military, so structure and order also speaks to my dynamic and my personality. Um, and I realized again, because this has been going on 5 years now. I've realized along the way, within about the past, maybe about the last year, that oh wait, I've learned something. I think I've gotten this together. I feel different. I feel a shift. There's something that I'm automatically doing anytime these events happen. I get this correspondence, I know how to respond and get this back to my lawyer. Like I realized that I had already gotten to a place. So it said, well, okay, I'm here, but what would the Jacqui a few years ago, what could she have used? And then I said, well, wait, there are people who were Jacqui a few years ago. What would it mean to them for someone to say, I've been there, done that. I've walked it, cried the tears. I felt the pain. I've had all of the emotions. Have your feelings, but here are the steps that I think could save you time and the space that you give to, I think, living in confusion or disbelief. Let me cut some of that out for you. It's like what
Absolutely.
came.
A game that you're in that you didn't even know you were playing.
Right, exactly. Like you're just you just keep. I spend so much time with the wait, like, is it me? Like, am I not understanding what's happening? What did I miss? How did I get to this place?
Yep.
Um, so let me take some time to cut through it for you. Yes, you're here. No, it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not imagining any of this. But you also need to take some steps to get you organized and to help your legal team, whomever that is, so that you can get through the process and work on your healing, work on all of the things that you need for yourself, and if you have kids, to help them. But you you have to just let go of the disbelief. You have to just move it aside, um, because it won't move you forward. It'll only drag out the process, especially when you keep trying, giving more and more chances. You just, you have to go through it because it will not change.
Ashe. I because a coach helps you move forward. That's absolutely why you need a coach. You need a therapist to help you deal with the past. You need a coach to help you keep moving forward and have the life that you now know and recognize that you truly desire. That's
Yeah.
what I found in my experience. It was like when I realized I need a me, somebody to show
Yeah.
up for me the way I was showing up for other people, because other dynamics were also at play, overgiving. When you're in that situation, you don't want to be kind, want to be a good Christian, all
Right.
the things, right? Whatever
Right.
that is. And it it made me lose myself. I didn't know who I was anymore.
Yes.
It was like unbelievable.
Right. I didn't know what my likes or dislikes were anymore. I didn't know what my interests were anymore without the kids. Like I'm doing these things. I buy these foods. I said that to them the other day. I don't I don't know how to even go to the store and buy just snacks or just grocery shop for me because everything is this one likes this one likes that. Let me get that and I'll just kind of pick around with what I can tolerate.
I love
So,
that. Yeah, your identity comes into question. Who am I?
correct, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I created an entire framework around that to help her figure that out. I love that.
Yeah.
So what did you narrow down for her to help her?
That the phrase "there's nothing wrong with you" was a huge shift for me. And I heard it on a podcast. No, actually I heard it on a fireside chat at work one day. And the speaker was saying, "There's nothing wrong with you." And when she said it, in the moment I said, "Well, oh, I didn't realize I thought something was wrong with me." So that was like the first moment. It's like I didn't know that was my belief. So that was jarring. And then accepting there's nothing wrong with you. Um, so I had to tell her that like there is nothing wrong with you. You didn't do something wrong. And the other thing that was unexpected, we were having a conversation and going through legal strategy, and my lawyer's like trying to get responses out of me, and I felt myself like freezing and shutting down a little bit. And she just kind of quickly said, and she may not even think, realize it or think anything of it, but she just quickly said, "Look, you fell in love with someone, you got married, you don't love him anymore, or whatever's going on, in the marriage fell apart. We're here, and this is happening, and like let's move on." And these are the answers that I need. And I was like, oh, yeah. And so that moment of, oh, I realized that I have this guilt and shame and just all the things, and the Christian woman and divorce and the church and all the stuff that comes with that. Um Realized I was holding on to all of that. So that was a gift I had to give myself too, that I married someone who I thought would be a certain person, and they weren't, and is they aren't. We're separating, and it's just time to move forward and not blame myself for that. So I wouldn't say I'm 100% there, but I'm getting there to get rid of that shame.
Absolutely. I experienced all of that as well because I can't even remember like some of the things. One, because I started realizing that, well, I kept thinking that I accepted it all, right? Like when I found out 3 months into the marriage. So it's like first it was like we don't communicate well. Maybe we need to talk to somebody.
Yeah,
And on that couch, I thought I was being punked because I got to say what I thought the issues were, and and the counselor was like, "He's a narcissist," and he said, "Oh, totally." When she said it, like raised up off the couch, he said, "No, one couch." I'm sitting. I was like, "Am I being punked?" In my mind, because I think out loud, and I'm like, "What is going on here?"
yeah,
And I said, I've heard that word before, but I don't know that I know what that is.
same. I said the same thing. I've heard the word. I have no idea what this means.
Yeah. And, and he was like, oh, totally. I was like, oh, you married me and you got something going on that you didn't even tell me about? Like, what is happening? And she's like, I need you to know what you're getting into. She gave me all these worksheets. The one that I remembered was 10 characteristics of a narcissist. When I
Mm.
looked at that paper, he had 9. I stared at that paper for weeks. 9, like right off the top. I could check them off. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. What what do you do to help the woman that I'm curious because you will help her while she's going through it, and then you will help her on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
more about.
I had a thought, and I know it wasn't me. I know it was the spirit speaking to me. I had a thought today, and I was like, oh, that's not mine. So, but I thank you for it. The exact thought I had today, Selena, was my work is to hold her hand and hold her heart at the same time. And what I think is so valuable and what I would have appreciated is having someone hear my feelings, hear my emotions, validate them. It's, yeah, you're feeling what you're feeling. That's valid. This situation happened. Yeah, it's messed up. You should be sad. You should be whatever the thing is. But let me hold your hand and let me guide you through. And what that looks like to me is that you've had some experience. Something's happened with the kids. Um, you, your ex has now shown up hours late and didn't follow this parenting schedule. Um, you're getting bombarded with emails and text messages and phone calls and voicemails and all of that stuff. You there's some interaction with the kids and the kids tell you about it and now you're trying to figure out what to do. That's where you come to your coach and say, again, and I love that you said this earlier. I am not a therapist. I have my own. You should have your own therapist. It's about building this team. Have a therapist, have your legal team. I view the divorce coach as the bridge between the two. You're speaking with your therapist, process what's happened. But in this moment, there's an event. There's action that needs to happen. You need to think about how are you recording this? Um, and getting them to record things and relay things to their lawyer in the way that it needs to be relayed. Not a frantic, look at all these things they did. It's we had a schedule. They were supposed to be with the kids on this day and return at this time. They returned at this time, and the kids were in whatever condition. Here's the kids' emotional response. Here was my response. They sent 30 emails to me this week. Here's a summary of those. Here's the date they sent it, the time they sent it. Here's the tone of the email. Here's what they're asking. And clean that up and get it to the lawyer, not without all of the emotions, because your lawyer's not your therapist and you're paying them probably a lot of money. You don't need them trying to like scan through your emails, your response, or you scheduling a call and now you're frantically divulging just a bunch of stuff and a bunch of emotions. You need to be able to succinctly communicate what's going on, and most importantly, like what's happened, how does it deviate from whatever you've agreed to. If it's impacted if there are children involved, it's impacted the kids, how did it impact the children, what was communicated. I mean, getting down to just purely the facts, succinct, pass that along. um so that's
Because more
the
than
bridge.
likely, you're the adult in the situation
Yeah.
anyway,
Correct. 100%. Yes.
right?
And like you're the one who's not the 12-year-old having a tantrum about whatever's going on. You are the adult. So now it's have your feelings. And I want to say that very make that clear. I feel all of it. The hurt, the pain, we've had a lot just this week, just in the last couple of days, and me trying to help my kids through it. But to communicate it to my lawyers, this is what happened, this is what was agreed on, this didn't happen, here's the event. Go, you do your your lawyer thing so that they can work on your case. But just helping them get through that, because it's a lot. It's a lot to handle, it's a lot to take on. So it's training my clients to learn how to communicate. Most importantly, learn how to communicate with your lawyer, minimize those conversations, minimize those billing hours so that your case is moving along and you're getting what you need. Um, but you're not like stalling in any way because you're not able to just like focus and hone in on what's important. And that's the other piece, what's important. They said something to you didn't like. You want to write it down? Go ahead. But
I'm
this is something you need to communicate to your lawyer.
absolutely. I'm curious because when I realized when I was still in the marriage that I was done emotionally,
Oh yeah.
mentally, like all the things. I'm like, I'm done. This is it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I wanted a divorce at first. I know I needed something. And
Yeah.
I was going through the thing, and I had a friend that would call me all the time and just check on me.
Yeah.
And then she got to the point where she said, I need the connection that you got with God. Because God always putting you on my mind. And I was in a sunken place, like for
Yeah.
real, because I didn't know who I was. And then out of the blue, because I wasn't talking about this, I was suffering in silence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being a good Christian, you don't tell your business, and God
Mm-hmm.
gonna work it out, and all of the things. And she said to me, she mentioned to me, I think she had been divorced one or two times. I don't remember. She said, God forgives all sin, even divorce. I didn't even know I needed to hear that. I had no idea I needed to hear that. And so I started researching to find out like what that looked like. Like, really? And in my journey and along the way, like everybody told me I needed a lawyer. Everyone. Like, you're gonna need a lawyer. You're gonna need a lawyer.
Yeah.
What I found that gave me my power was doing my research. I actually took a divorce class to
Mm-hmm.
know what I was getting into and what really needed to happen and understand it for myself instead of because somebody had already been telling me all the things that I needed to do and playing all the games and playing in my face. And so I knew I didn't want more of that. And I knew I had given up enough of my power and I
Yeah.
needed my own power. Um, and doing the divorce myself, now I consulted an attorney, but I didn't do all that back and forth and all of those things. And I found making those choices and those decisions, even in all the grief and the guilt and the shame that I didn't know existed while going through it. I found out after, once I had this energy and the space to
Yeah.
process, right? But I do feel like a coach would have been extremely helpful. But how did you think an attorney was necessary, or is it like what is that dynamic? Because I'm wondering about the woman that does not necessarily want to use a lawyer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. That's a great point. And I spoke with one of my girlfriends, who sounds like your friend in the beginning, to help me in the beginning. There's someone that she's been talking to about this very thing. In the beginning, I thought, you know, time heals all wounds. Um, I just need a little space. And I remember towards at some point couples therapy fell apart. And I remember saying to him, I feel like I am dying.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm filled with death. Like this does not feel good. I feel like I'm dying. And
What did you find? What did you realize when you said that to him?
that he had zero cares that I felt that way.
They lack empathy.
And then I said, oh, I need to do something. Something here needs to happen. And I said, I need space. I think that for me means I think we need a separation. We need some time apart. Um, I never, till this day, I never asked for the divorce. Um, because was still convinced that it just meant I need to breathe. I need to kind of gather my thoughts and just maybe I'm tired. I was working on my master's and had the kids and I was working full time. So it's like maybe I'm just overwhelmed and I just need some space. Um, but of course that spiraled into like where we are now. But that was a strong belief of mine that after a little bit of time apart, he would change. He would um not just so much miss me, but yearn for a healthy partnership and want to do anything that was necessary to fix it, which seems absolutely ridiculous now. Like thinking back on it, like that I believe that to be true. Um, so say all of that to say I did all of the things and I had a therapist tell me, it gave me a relief. She said, "You've done everything you can do." And I don't know if you know that, but I feel like I need to tell you this. You've done everything you can do. And I needed to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like again, just a failure and I don't care for failing. What's that? I need A's and be at the minimum student. And just feeling like I failed at something was just very hard. So once I heard that, it's like we need something. I know some legal capacity needs to happen here. And I thought mediation would be that. But I knew like after mediation fell apart, I needed a lawyer. Like that, it was very clear just because of how much conflict there was during mediation. So for the person that feels that way, I didn't want to get a lawyer. A, it's expensive. Um, and in some consults with lawyers, I found everyone I spoke to, well, most of them that I spoke to be incredibly abrasive. And I just didn't need that in my spirit with what I was already going through. I said, I can't have that much like harsh conversation happening while I'm going through something that's already
Yeah.
difficult. Um, and fortunately found the lawyer that I have now, but it became clear to me in going through it. So I would say if you have tried couples therapy, if you've tried mediation, once you know that divorce is happening and the separation is happening and those things aren't working, I hate to say you have no choice, but you have no choice because going into court, divorcing a narcissist and doing it on your own um, is ill advised. It will, getting a lawyer relieves you of the burden of you having to figure it out because you have too many things that you need to do. Whether you have children or not, you're working, whatever is going on in your life, just what it will take for you to recover from this experience. You need somebody else who you can say, it's like having an assistant, very, very expensive assistant, but you need to have someone that you're kind of downloading what you know and you're giving it to them and they're dealing with it and you go do the other things that you need to do. So yes, it's hard, it's pricey, it can be time consuming sometimes because they haven't lived with you and they have questions and you have to be able to communicate and set the scene for them. So I
That,
found it sometimes taxing emotionally, but there's no other way to do it.
so that can be a buffer to protect your peace.
Amen. Like that's just it. It absolutely. That's a perfect way to clean that. It's just the peace I have knowing that someone else who is in my corner. Because if you have a lawyer, you don't feel that way. You have the wrong lawyer. Let's like go and find, it's like having a therapist where you don't feel like you're growing, then go find another therapist. Or, it's a doctor you don't feel good with, go to another doctor. Like, I don't know why we stick with people as if like we got to suffer through this.
Well,
Yeah.
Same reason we stick with narcissists.
Like as soon as I said it, I was like, that's why. Yeah, because you think it'll get better.
And sometimes you don't even know you in it.
True.
You don't even
True.
know you in it.
Yeah. But yeah, protecting your peace. They're taking and they know I um my father, my uncles, grandfathers, several men in my family that were mechanics. And yeah, I learned some things about a car. At some point I was great at, changing my own brakes and oil and tires and all that stuff. But I'm not trying to rebuild an engine. I will go to a mechanic. I will go to a body shop. I will go and do those things. These people have gone through the schooling necessary. I'm not doing heart surgery on myself.
Mhm.
They go to the specialist, let them do it.
That's
But you're
great.
going to need it.
That's really good. That's really good. I'm curious, um, at what point did you recognize that narcissism was at play?
Mm.
And what did you decide in yourself when you knew that?
Mm.
Reason is because the reality that I believe that people miss is you, you're not there for no reason, right? Like, so I'm wondering what, when you knew that, like you already knew, right? And you were still there. What turned
Yeah.
on or turned off for you?
When I realized it, um, I want to say I don't know how, but I know how it was divine intervention. I was surfing on the internet. I think I'd ended up in on YouTube. Um, and a video about narcissism popped up. Like I hadn't searched for it. I probably was just watching a bunch of silly dance videos to like de-stress before going to bed. But that popped up and then watched it and watched another thing and then you go down the Google rabbit hole and it hit me like a ton of bricks and I was like, oh my God, I think this is what I'm dealing with. So like did all of the things to come to just try to like confirm it in my mind. Um, and I also emailed an old therapist. It's like, I think he's a narcissist. And she's like, well, yeah,
Everybody
duh.
around you knows.
Right.
Everybody knows. When I got out of that marriage, they were like, I never liked that dude. Like all of the things. I'm like, what?
My best friend tells me all the time, she's like, you're the only one who was clueless about like what was going on.
Did that piss you
Okay.
off?
Yes. I was like, well, how? And truly, it's like on one hand, it's like, well, why didn't anybody say anything? But then what can
That's
they
what I,
say?
that's what I said.
What can really be said until
You know.
like the blinders are removed? Like you have to see behind the curtain, see that the wizard is not real. Like you have to you got to do that first.
Not real. Lord.
Wizard real like
You were in the Wizard of Oz.
yeah.
Oh my God. I know
So,
what
yeah.
I uncovered around that, and I'm curious for you.
Yeah.
Um, they mimic you. And when you said you told
Yes.
him, I feel like this is a death, you give more information
Yes.
and ammunition for them to play in your face.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, at 1000 yes, absolutely. And then so I was starting to realize that. And then I saw an article about it and I was like, okay, so like my gut was right on that one that they just mimic who they think you are, the love bombing to hook you. Once they have you, the mask clip, and then we're gone. But what I realized about myself, Selina, and it's continuing to work on these things in
Absolutely.
therapy is that I have had so many years of feeling um that that piece that I said at the beginning, that something's wrong with me. I'm not smart enough. Selena, I was straight A student, like, but still saying to myself, I'm not smart enough. I always did well in school, unless I was having a semester I was tired, but usually very good student. And I love school. I love learning. Um, but the constant, I realized how much self-doubt I had and how much I was depending on someone else to do the things that I thought I couldn't do. But then I realized, but he was just mimicking me. That was me all along. I can do those things. I was doing those things. But he was making it seem as if it was him, but it was like it was me all along.
And I think that's the reality to realize when you decide to divorce, because people go through this dynamic of being fair
Yeah,
when you already know they're not fair.
correct.
They don't play fair. They
Right.
don't honor agreements.
Yeah.
When there's
Yeah.
children involved, you're already a single parent, because that comes up. Like I'm uniquely qualified for this. Now my son was grown, so that dynamic didn't play out, but I've seen that picture show over and over again where the kids become pawns in the game.
Yes. And that, right, exactly what the story is. And I had a therapist say to me for several sessions, like, what are you afraid of? What's your fear? And they would leave me with it and I go away and it's like, I don't know, I don't know. And then this particular therapist said, if you're afraid of doing it alone, you already are.
That's
And I
direct.
was like, and then you're gonna leave the call like this? You're gonna leave me with all of that? And I then, I spoke to my best friend about it and she go, yeah, right. You are. You're already doing it. Um, but I was not looking at it that way because you think there's another body there that's an adult that can, right? It's
Well,
like, so that false like sense of security.
and that's
It,
what they
yeah,
tend to prey on, right?
yeah.
I believe more women that identify as Christian
Mhm.
and some of those other religious practices that make the women believe that someone else is responsible for their happiness, that you need a husband, you need a partner, right? That male patriarchal thing going on are subject to this. I think there are more women in churches in places like
Yeah.
that are the prey.
Yes.
With my words, because they are predators. And that became crystal clear to me when I got clearer about this. If you look at it, there is a pattern. They're just looking for their next victim. They also um, kind of are always there's somewhat always in the wait, right?
Yeah.
They got another deck lined up. When you
Yeah.
use your power and you take the control, all them games stop. They're only existing because you still playing the game.
Yeah.
And then
No, absolutely.
moment that because I could feel in the marriage like he was hanging on for dear life. I just couldn't understand it. And I kept thinking, don't love me that much. I don't even want it. Because I didn't know that it felt like that. No, I
Right.
don't want that.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
How 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 do you help the women that are in that dynamic, right? Of understanding that that person is who they are. They're not gonna change. It's like because you kind of got to get some resolve.
Right. Um, right. Like you got to get that resolved as soon as possible. One thing that I say I will always stress is to whomever I am helping, you have to have a therapist. Like, you
Absolutely.
cannot do this. You can't. It cannot
That
be
was,
done. You have to have a therapist. And you need to have, like, you need to build this system around you of, for me, I had a therapist. At some point I had a couple between like work and my personal one. Um, and you need to have friends, family, whomever that is that's around you. Um, I will caveat that with your friends love you, so they may not always be giving you the best legal advice. So be
they're not,
cautious.
not unless they're attorneys. They're not
Right.
qualified, like you said. You ain't a mechanic. You ain't, yeah.
Right. So they love you, they will be pouring into you, and they may pop off when they're talking to you
And
and they
that's
hear
their
something
role. That's the
that
role
let them,
of a friend. Understand the roles that people are playing, even the narcissists.
right, right. Yes,
Help be
absolutely.
clear on that for sure. Um, it was something that you said, honey, girl, this is so rich. What tools do you have for her? What do you got?
Yeah, so I will start with what I think is important, and this is something that I do, and there's a 5-week coaching program that I think is the best way to start with going through it and trying to get you to a place where you can now, um, help yourself through the process. And I start with, you need to prepare for the divorce. So that's more for someone who's thinking about it. They know that it needs to happen, or they're just like in the early stages of going through this. And that's where I help them and talk to them about, well, first of all, where are you? Your finances. Um, I think there are far too many women who go through finances with this hands-off approach. You need to know where your you need to know where your money is. You need to know what resources are available to you. So start with, where are you financially? What are the kids involved in? Um, what are the things that you need to maintain your household? Whatever that is. So it's important to start there. I then take you through, now, what has happened up to this point. And if you have been in a relationship with a narcissist for any number of years, there are some events that have happened. You need to write those things down as much as you can remember, date, year, whatever it is. Do that. Document those things. So it's starting with preparing for the divorce is important. Um, Making sure that a part of the preparation, making sure that you have a safety plan to
Mm,
whatever extent
that's good.
going on in your life, because we will all be in different stages and there are multiple different types of abuse, and that it took me some time to not just believe that but accept it. There may be financial abuse, social, emotional, like physical. There's so many different things, verbal. So if it's at a point where you know you need to have a safe place for you and your children, have a safety plan. Um, so that would be where I start. And then it's transitioning to, okay, we have all of that. Now we need to get a handle on the legal and logistical process that you're going to. You need to understand what's happening in court. What does that look like? And it obviously looks different state to state. It looks different in different cities or different counties, but it's a general, here's what you can expect, because I would have appreciated knowing what I was walking into.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a comment, Nicole Richards. Shout out, Nicole. She said, you shouldn't do it by yourself, even if you think you can.
Mm, yes. And I would have, the old me would have said, oh, hey, I'm a great student. I can learn this, can read some books. see what the process is.
Yeah.
You need the support. You
Absolutely.
absolutely
You
need the
deserve
support.
the support. You deserve
Oh, I like that.
the support. It is,
Yes,
it is what you are required to have when things get hard. You don't have to go through
yes,
hard things alone. And I think that's the thing, right? Because they'll also have you believing that
yes,
you need them.
yes,
You need support, but it may not be that you need it from them. That
absolutely.
that's that patriarchal thing that's got you there in the first place, maintaining the status quo.
Yes,
Something needs to be disrupted because that's typically why you're there, because of all of those structures, especially for women that have taught you somebody else is going to come along and make you
yep,
happy. You don't know what your own wants, desires, and dreams are because you dreaming about being with someone.
right,
Now they're practically a monster.
right. And
Just a
making all of the plans around that instead of what you are capable of doing. Like you're
absolutely.
spending so much time around this image. And I say, um I had a thought a few months ago because I also felt in my spirit at some point this will be put in the book.
For sure.
um but I had the thought of talking about grief, and I've just done some journaling on forgiveness because those are just two the strong terms that have come out of the last few years.
Right.
But with grief, you have this image and you have to grieve it. You have to grieve it. I have to and will continue to for some time grieve the loss of what I thought would happen in my marriage.
Mhm.
Um, Grieve what I thought would be present for my children.
Mhm.
Grieve what I expected during their young years and their adulthood, and as I go into my retirement, and just grieve all of those things that I expected. And it's not, no, I'll never get married again. I don't know,
Yeah. Uh,
but like,
warm heart. Don't let what somebody else did change you.
yeah,
That's already
right,
enough.
exactly. So
Warm
and
heart.
trying to hold that.
Yes.
I try to hold on to that because I've said to my friends several times, nope, I'm done. I can't deal with this. Like, but don't let that experience block the blessing and block someone else who you're supposed to be with, like who would give you those things and fulfill that image of what you thought a partnership should be. But you do have to grieve it, and it doesn't. You can still, I can get remarried and stay married 30 years and have this wonderful experience in the future, but I need to grieve the one that I thought would be the person that I'm with for a number of years. So you have to go, you just have to go through it. And how you go through that again with therapy, whether you're journaling, whatever process you do. But grief is funny because it'll, you know, it comes up, it comes in waves sometimes, and you just have to move through it, but move through it with support.
What is the biggest lesson you believe you came away from so far with this?
That I'm enough. And as soon as you said it, that's what I thought. Because I did not believe that before. That I'm enough. Um, so you don't get me crying on this, but that I am a good mom. And for so long, I didn't, before I had kids, I didn't believe that I would be a good mother and that I should be a mother, that I should just, be independent and a career woman and just single and be a good auntie, which I was a great auntie, still am. um, but mom just seemed like the thing that I shouldn't be doing.
Mm.
Um, but I am. I'm enough as I am.
You
And
absolutely.
that my kids have the mom that they deserve and that they need it. Um, So, and I get to be her now because in the marriage, I was not her.
Absolutely. I believe these situations happen to us for a reason. It isn't happening to us, it's happening for us,
Yes.
right? And sometimes it's for you to shift, because in that situation, I found my calling. I had
Yeah.
been doing this for over 30 years for free. It's what I would do for free. And then when I
Yeah.
needed my own support and a me, somebody that I always say I needed me, a me,
Yes.
going and finding my own coach. My for me was a life, her specialty was a life coach. And I didn't feel very feminine because I had to do so many masculine things, right?
Yes.
And so the name of her program was Feminine Success. And
Okay.
tiny little thing, but powerful. And I was going through this during the pandemic, but it was an opportune time for me to pour and invest in it was the first time I had invested in myself and not one other person. I took my money and I bet on me.
Yes.
And the two things came out of it that I felt that I didn't know before that I went in was, one, I am responsible for my own happiness, period, point blank. And if everybody is responsible for their own happiness, then everything goes the way that it's supposed to go.
Right.
Right? You taking care of your happiness, I'm taking care of my happiness, he taking care of his happiness. That is not mine. I'm not responsible for that person's happiness. And then the other was, what was the other? I think it was the fact that how good it felt to focus on me and meet my needs for myself.
Yeah.
More of that. Yes, please.
Yes.
Right?
The the um it was very, very hard in the beginning having nights where my children weren't in my home. And I felt like my arm or leg was just out there in the world. So I
That
heard
was
someone say,
good.
right, I heard someone say you're having kids is like taking your heart and just throwing it out there
Oh,
and
that's
letting
true.
it frolic,
That's
right?
true. That
So I
part.
felt like a part of me was just gone. And I would just spend Selena the weekends just vegging and crying and just feeling um not just depleted
Mm.
and not whole. I truly felt like parts of me were gone. And then there was a shift and I realized, well, let's just go to brunch. You love brunch. You used to always love a good brunch and a good book. Let's just go and do these things. And let's go to the day spa that you love and you can stay the whole day because you don't have any time constraints.
Yeah.
And as I started to just do things for myself, I get them out of the house so fast on Fridays. They're
Bye. See you later.
a great day at school. I will see you later. Um, but now, I miss them and I love the time, we're together. But I love the time when I have a weekend and I can go and watch a movie that they can't see and go to the dine-in theater and get my beer or my cocktail or whatever it is and sit there and enjoy my meal and just slowly, like we were saying before, figure out the things that I love. And there may be some things I used to like that I don't like anymore, but I'm figuring that out.
Absolutely.
And I have the space to do it. So just the gift of having this space and opportunity to figure out who I am now.
To fall
Um,
in love with yourself.
yes. Yeah. For the first time.
I love that for you so much. I love
Yeah.
that for you so much. And I would bet a lot of cash that your children will benefit and love that for you too.
Yes, I have a boy and a girl. My daughter's the youngest, and she says to me all the time, "Well, it's not fair that spas don't allow children." My son finally told her one day, he said, Mom does a lot. She deserves to have the things that are just for her. If that's her brunch spot, that's her brunch spot. If she's going to the spa, that's her time. Now
Oh,
she doesn't listen to him. She's
right.
like, whatever. But I was so proud of him and just happy to hear that like he's at the place where he was like, no, you need that. It's good for you. Great, go do it.
I love that. I love that. What tell us about the tool or a one tool or podcast or book that was significant for you in your journey that might be able to help someone else or more. It doesn't, hey, we disrupt stuff around here, so it can be as many as you want to share.
Oh, yeah, there were several. The one tool absolutely hands down was therapy and is therapy, and it continues to be. Um, and number two, I had to find a new faith-based community where I felt um that I could stay a while, where I could be of service. Service is very important to me, and it's also, what drives what I'm doing now.
Mm.
I I need to always have something in my life where I am giving, where I'm connecting with people. So a place where I can be served and serve others was important. And finding I've lost my faith community in the separation, and so I needed to find that. So that was important. And I love podcasts. So there are always multiple ones that I'm listening to. A few that I listen to frequently was Dr. Ramani. I cannot remember her last name, but she speaks all the time about, she is the narcissist expert. So every time she pops up on YouTube, I'm all in. Um, and there's a podcast with it's We Can Do Hard Things. Trying to remember, it's the
Is
old
that
Olympic. It's
Olympic?
Glennon Doyle and her wife. I can't think of her wife's name. Soccer player. It's gonna
Oh,
pop up later on.
yeah. I know. I don't know the name. I know the soccer player. I've seen them.
Yeah,
I'm not a big TV watcher and things like that because I'm so busy spending time with myself and
yeah,
the women that I'm called to serve. It just lights me up. I
yeah,
I pour in. I'm a student of them and their needs, right? Because they need the focus. For so long, everyone else has been the focus. And
yeah.
that's why I stay in masterminds and things like that where I can get fed and supported as well. Uh,
Yes,
right? Because I find then that I get seen, right? I get seen, I get witnessed, like you and I. We're in a mastermind together. You're investing in yourself. And it
yeah,
also is a great example for her to see and know what that looks like. It's like,
right.
oh yeah, more please, more
Yeah,
please. So the podcast with Glenn Doyle and her wife. Any
yes. And I enjoy reading, so I got into a few books, and somehow I stumbled into the Daily Stoic, which I don't consider myself a
Hmm.
stoic, although those were one of the criticisms I got from my ex, and I was like, what does that even mean? Okay, but um, but because I stumbled on that, I started getting these the day like a daily newsletter, which just it always has some little snippet of motivation. So that's just, and it's been probably three or 4 years now where I'm reading that every day. I might miss a day or two and I just go back and catch up. But every day there's something that I feel that just feeds my soul, or it tells me something that I need to hear that day, and just how I approach the world. So those are steady, like constant. And there are a couple other podcasts I listen to, but like those are the ones that I'm usually listening to, looking at, reading, and then getting my own treatment in in the process.
I love that. I love that so much for you. Where can the women find you that need you?
They can find me at deanalise.com. That is my website, and it's Dean, Dean, Alise, Alise. And I'll speak to that. That's actually my kids' middle names. And so I named the company that after them. It's not have their first names out there, maintain a little bit of their privacy, but I want to always keep my why in the forefront and what's motivating me to do the work, what keeps me going,
Mm,
um, and what keeps me, pushing through all of the ups and downs and conflict throughout this process is knowing that I'm doing it for them
absolutely.
and so that they can just to flourish, to have the best life possible. Whatever they do with it is their business, but I'm setting them up as much as I can for success.
I love that. What offerings do you have for her? What services and offerings do you have that you provide?
Yes. So I have a couple things. One is there's a 5-week course that I offer where each week we're addressing something different. We're talking about self-care. And if you're in my part of the town, I can also recommend a lovely day spa. But we're talking about concepts like co-parenting versus parallel parenting, documenting what's happening along the way, how you should be communicating to your legal team. So, well, over the course of 5 weeks, we're addressing all of those different things. And I actually have a course coming up here at the end of June, on June 21st. We're doing the next program. So that's one offer. And I also am offering one-on-one coaching for the person who is, again, looking for that bridge. You want someone that is saying, hey, here's my stuff and help me through it. Here's what's happening. How should I address this? Or here's some communication I need to get out to my lawyer. And I think um, I know that that is what would have helped me if I had done those. One of the things that I talked about early on. If I had someone at the beginning, they would have been able to tell me, Jacqui, yes, tell your lawyer this, but this is how you need to do it. So what's important with the one-on-one coaching is just don't curtail it. Don't come thinking you have to clean it up. Bring all of it and we'll clean it up. We'll walk through it. I offer the one-on-one coaching in either if you want to sign up for 3 months, 6 months, or do a full year. You don't know how long you'll be going through this process. I've been in it for 5 years at this point, but you sign up for what period of time you believe that you need that support to kind of get you on your way. And we will do that work together privately. There are things that I will cover, of course, in the course over the 5 weeks, but if you're also looking for additional support, you can always sign up for the one-on-one coaching.
I love that. I love that. Is there any questions that I didn't ask? Anything you would like to share?
I want to share, it's so important to remind myself that there's nothing that I did wrong per se to get here. And so for that person that's in it thinking they just messed up somewhere along the way, or like, what are the signs? What are the things that I missed? You didn't do anything wrong. You fell in love with someone, you started a family with someone, and you're here. Those words from my lawyer stuck with me, and I continue to remind myself of that. You did the things that you thought you should do at the time. It didn't work out. It's okay. And it will be okay. So that's the other thing I would say. You will get to a point where you are looking forward to your weekends, or even if it's just a few hours in the evening where you have time to yourself, but you'll find yourself looking forward to getting to know you. And I love that you mentioned that falling in love with you, learning who you are, learning more about yourself. And I'd also say, Selina, I learned so much more about my kids. Um, their personalities just blossomed once they had a safe space there's so many activities and interests that have come out of that. And just watching them being able to just freely move around my home, and even their friends just like show up sometimes. I had one show up just before we went on. It's like, he's not home, but they just show up, but just creating that space for them. So what in separating, you're giving so many gifts. You're giving gifts to yourself, your children, your friends, people around you, and are relieved that they don't have to pretend anymore that all's okay. But there's so much on the other side. It is not easy. And we'll never pretend that it is. It is a hard road to walk. There are days when it's overwhelming. But that's why you have support. That's why you have your therapist, you have a coach, you have friends, you have your faith, you build that team to get you through it.
Okay. So I've got maybe two more questions for you.
Sure.
What would you say, because I am known as the disruptor coach, what did the disruptor in you have to disrupt?
What I thought of myself and what I thought of marriage. What I thought marriage should look like. So I had to scrap that and redefine it and look for healthy versions of it, and still looking, but and look for healthy versions. But I had to also disrupt what I thought of me. And I mentioned briefly, I was in the service before. I'm an Army veteran. And as I was going through this, someone said, you're in the Army. Like, you've done hard things. And I was like, oh, you're right. Forgot about that. But just, so much time with having someone tell you things or making you think that you're not capable of. But one thing that I remember from being in the service was, I can do so much more than I thought I was capable of.
You can.
And I said it to my son the other day. He was doing something, and I was like, "Well, he was practicing his push-ups." And I was like, "You can do 5 more." And he's like, "No, I can't." So you can do so much more than you realize. And did he do 5 more? Absolutely. He did 5 more easily. He was like, "Oh, okay, right. You can always do more than you realize."
I love that. I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. I've got one more question for you before we get out of here.
Yes.
This was a beautiful conversation. I've been asking quite a few questions. I'd like to know if you have any questions for me.
Yes, I'd like to hear more about DisruptHer and how you service your community.
Oh, well, it took me a long time to figure that out, actually. And I feel like I finally figured out the sweet spot, because when I had the realization, the aha, that, oh, this is what I would do for free and I can help this woman. It was really helping Christian women that have been impacted by narcissistic or toxic dynamics in their relationship. And it was crickets.
Mm,
Crickets, because they were suffering in silence. They weren't
yes,
they weren't showing up on the internet, in these internet streets. I only
yes,
know of like one person, especially of color, um,
yeah.
TikTok sensation sharing, but it was after all was said and done. And I was like right in it, like right after, like I need to be talking about this. I did a podcast on Instagram for like almost 2 years about it. And I started recognizing, as I was changing and healing more and more, there's just more to her than that. So who she is today is Miss I got time for everybody except myself.
Right.
The overachiever, the caregiver, the uh the healer, she's showing up for the sick and the shut-in, like the person that is volunteered for all the things in the church and all of the things, right? And so what I have for Miss I Got Time, for everybody except myself is I have a number of things. I'll start I'll start I'll start with the lower entry things for her. One is I'm working on, and I'm going to be talking about it all over these internet streets, is I started a Get Your Shit Together circle, um, a Get Your Shit Together challenge. I haven't figured out if she needs 3 to 5 days, so I got to do my little bit of research. But the challenge is to give her a way to know that, like we said, she can do hard things. So what the SHIT acronym stands for is self-love care. It's self-love and self-care, healing, identity, and time, right?
Mm.
Get your time back, girl, because that's your biggest problem, right? You giving it to everybody else. Not. Come on, boo. Let's get that together. So in the challenge, we'll walk through those things, and it also has a mental health component, because which is very real. Being in these types of dynamics and relationships, there is a level of PTSD that happens. I know.
Yep.
Believe me, I know. And so we'll walk through that dynamic. That's 3 to 5 days potentially. And then for the woman that is like really wanting to be in community and really decided that no more, that I'm ready to commit. I have the abundance and expansion circle. The abundance and expansion circle is accompanied with the abundance and expansion journal. And in community, we walk through really 3 major things. How to say hell no,
Yes.
right? Because no is a complete sentence. It is
Yes.
how you meet your needs. It's how you get your time back, all of the things. How to say hell yeah, hell yes. Because now you got room to say yes to the things that you want and you desire.
Right.
Thirdly, how to ask for help. That woman, Miss, I got time for everybody except myself. You ain't everybody's savior.
Right.
No, you need to ask for help. You deserve support. There are people that are willing to support you. And we go through and walk through the ways and what that actually looks like, how to ask for help. And these are daily practices that get done with reflection, in community, with support. We talk through it. I do a weekly live coaching session around different topics. The first one is how to ask for help. That's
Like that's where I would need to start.
absolutely, because that's the biggest one where they have the most angst, right? It feels foreign. It's like trying to quit smoking.
Right.
It's a muscle. So we got to practice it, right? And then there's 5, I have an activation path where you can see the 5 layers that have to take place for you to have the full transformation, for you to be able to receive. These things are helping you make room to receive and expand. So it's giving you the clarity, the confidence, the energy, the strength to receive, to receive the abundance and the expansion that was designed and meant for you. Everything on this earth was meant for the woman to be fully supported. She was the last thing that Jesus did. If you believe that in from a Christian perspective,
Mhm.
everything was there for her. And we
Right.
out here doing everything for everybody else.
Right.
We've been hoodwinked and bamboozled, right? And then my other offering is my flagship offer. It is the Get Your Shit Together circle,
Mhm.
right? Self-love, healing, identity, time. It also includes financial freedom as well.
Yep.
And with that, it is a 12-month program because she needs 12 months, right? She needs time to practice and get through these things. It is a combination of business coaching, life coaching and mindset coaching. And we have a good time. Everything is in the circle. So when you're first starting out, you need the life coaching because you need to focus on you and build the muscle. So the first part of that, we focus on getting to know yourself, becoming yourself, and then fully being yourself. Because that's going to take some time, right?
Yeah.
Learning all of the things. And then you start to realize and unfold like, oh, I got this dream. Oh, I got this vision that I've just been putting down here because I put everybody and everything else above my own needs. And I really have this desire that I want to start that business. I want to write that book. I want to do all of those things. So I have framework. It's the Hello Seventh Growth Scale to help her build and scale that business to $1 million, $1 million business, so that as she can reach all of the things that she desires, the legacy for the children, the legacy for her own self and her life's work, because that's what's going to come up. Because now you have expanded, and now
Mhm.
you have been given the tools to transform on knowing how to receive it, because that's part of it. We don't believe that we deserve it, right? We don't know how to,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Somebody else told us some craziness. We
Exactly.
knocked down all of that. Maintaining the status quo is what got her here. We
Right.
disrupt some shit in there because we got shit to do. We
Right.
really do. And she starts to really walk in her power and own it, and all in community, all with me by your side. I am a warrior for her because so many people have tried to keep her small and not let her take up space. This is a space you get to take up space. We have a book club. Anything that's not in the circle, we're going to get it in the circle. Experts are going to come in, like all kinds of things. It's the place where you can feel safe, like you're sitting on the couch, taking your shoes off, and you wrapped in that warm, cuddly blanket.
Right.
Those are my offerings. I have some others in between. I have a clarity call when you feel stuck and you don't know what to do. It is a lifeline where you can reach out and you get strategic coaching on what you need to get you out of the stuck place.
Mm.
Move forward. Those are just in the moment calls. Yeah, I could talk about this stuff all day that I've created just for you, Miss. I got time for everybody except myself. Yes.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
I'm definitely miss volunteering for everything. It may be some overcompensation happening, but volunteering for any and everything at the kids' schools. And I had a couple moms come up to me today. It was field day. And like, weren't you just at the middle school field day? You were always working. Why are you always working? Like, yeah, right. You're
And
right.
we look at that. There are really reasons why, right? And it'll come out. I partner with the therapist. So I do personal coaching, what I call it, one on most people call it one-on-one, but it's very personal. We get personal. I get all up in your business because I'm gonna help you get where you really truly desire. It's gonna feel foreign at first because you ain't never done it before, and we're practicing. Everything in life is a practice. We that each day you don't know what it's gonna give you.
Yeah.
And in my power and divine identity program, that's the life coaching aspect of that. um I forgot my point, which happens. Menopause is real, y'all. What was I talking about? um
In the life coaching section.
we look at everything. So you were talking about how you need to you're really building your squad. We look at there's two aspects to that. That's your inner love squad or your tribe, and then your outer love squad. We look at and this is baked into Get Your Shit Together Circle 2 as well. But if you need it just personal and you didn't feel like you need it all because you don't want a business, then
Yeah.
we look at creating that level, those levels of support for you. So it's what you need to be you and to show up fully, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be your therapist. That's going to be me, your dynamic coach. That's going to help you stretch. That's going to be probably your bookkeeper, right? To keep your money right, right? It's going to
Yeah.
be your primary care physician. It's going to be your OBGYN because we don't take care of ourselves right. We getting everybody else to them doctor's appointments. You need to get to them doctor's appointments,
Have
right?
you been reading my email
No, but I know
for
you.
3?
I know you. I was you. I've been you. I'm still going through because it's layers to this. You are always going to
Yeah.
need to invest in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Always. I would bet my money on me every time. Now, you would never not get me to spend my money on me anymore.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that part. And then I have personal coaching in the business space is the Dreams to Reality program, right? You want to take your dreams and we fully make them a reality. We bring them in full bloom for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for asking me that. And y'all get at me. Y'all know where y'all can find me out here in these disruptor coaching streets. Right here on the podcast. We got a link for you. And before we get out of here, is there anything else you want to say that didn't?
No, I just thank you for creating this space. 'Cause I think it's just so important to just have a space where we can have these conversations. It as I went through trying to figure out like where I am, what's going on, what's happening. It's just few and far in between. And so many people who are afraid to be vulnerable and speak about what they've gone through. Um, but as I said before, it's not your fault.
Absolutely.
But
And
the
that's why
longer you're silent, you're holding it in, and that's just that toxic. It's poison, and it stays in you. Some of the elements I had before, I don't have anymore.
absolutely. We wonder why. And that's why the inner love tribe is so important, right? So that you can continue to pour in because there is a long-lasting effect of being in that type of environment that you don't even realize until you get out of it. Like, oh my God. Oh my God, this was stress. Oh my God, this was that. Oh my God. Because it's a trick of the enemy. It's designed to keep you busy and running in circles and questioning yourself. And we don't do that over here. We
Right.
don't do that over here. Well, thank you so much. Come back anytime. Anytime. You all, I'm gonna check real quick because sometimes this conversation sets people off and see if there's any other folks out there. All right. We will, if you all tune in after we are done with the conversation, drop your questions in the chat. Jackie and I will be monitoring the comments. We are here for you. There's so much more work that we are going to do together. This was fantabulous conversation. So be on the lookout for her. Yeah, thank you for
Okay.
being here. So y'all know
Thank
what
you
it
for
is.
having me.
Until next time, take good care of you.